Ever feel like the internet is turning into like a bunch of walled gardens? You know what I mean? It's like all these separate things not really talking to each other. Well, the blockchain world can feel that way too, right? But imagine if all those blockchains could connect, work together like seamlessly. That's the big idea behind Cosmos Network. And today we're diving deep into their white paper to kind of unwrap how it works. And more importantly, how it could change the game for, well, everyone.
Yeah, this white paper isn't just tinkering around the edges. It's laying out a whole new vision for like a blockchain internet. Not about one blockchain to rule them all, but all these different blockchains actually connecting, cooperating.
Yeah.
It's a whole new way of thinking about things.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued, but let's back up a sec. We've already got big players out there, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that. So what problem is Cosmos even trying to solve? Like, why even bother with this whole network of blockchains thing?
You're hitting on the key point right there.
Yep.
It's all about the limitations of what we have now. Bitcoin, yeah, super secure, everyone knows that, but it's slow, man. And energy hungry. It's like, I don't know, trying to run the whole internet on like dial-up.
And don't even get me started on those gas fees some of these blockchains charge. It's insane. It's like you need to like take out a loan just to make a simple transaction.
Tell me about it. And then there's Ethereum, right? All this promise of amazing decentralized apps and everything.
Mm.
But it's getting crowded. More people using it, transactions get slower, fees go up.
Right, so it's like we've got all these blockchain islands, each with their own thing going on, but they're not, well, talking to each other. So is Cosmos just trying to build a faster, more efficient island then?
That's where things get really interesting. Cosmos isn't about outdoing any one blockchain. It's about, like, tearing down the walls between them. Imagine, you go from Bitcoin to Ethereum to a million other blockchains, just like that. Seamless.
Yeah.
Like browsing websites on the internet. That's the idea. Interoperability. That's what Cosmos is built on.
Interoperability, yeah, okay, kind of mouthful, but I can see how that'd be powerful if it actually works. So how do they pull that off?
It all starts with two main pieces, Tendermint and the Cosmos Hub. Think of Tendermint like the engine of this whole thing. It's this like revolutionary consensus algorithm. Basically, it helps all those different blockchains agree on what transactions happened and when.
Okay, hold up a sec. Consensus algorithm, getting a little technical there.
Yeah.
What's that in, like, plain English? And why is Tendermint such a big deal?
Okay, so imagine you have a room full of people,
Yeah.
and they need to agree on what was set, in what order, right? Consensus algorithm is like that, but for blockchains, keeps everyone on the same page about the transaction history, no arguments. Now, Bitcoin, that uses something called proof of work,
I've heard of that.
which is basically like everyone in that room yelling their version of the story at the same time. Whoever yells loudest, longest, they win. It works, I guess, but it's messy, inefficient. Everyone ends up with a headache.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Right. Now, Tendermint, that's like having a good moderator in the room.
Yeah.
Calm, efficient, make sure everyone gets a turn, decisions actually make sense.
Yeah.
Byzantine Fault Tolerance, technically, but you just got to know. It's fast, it's secure, it's efficient. Like near-instant transactions, way less energy use, night and day difference.
Okay, so Tendermint is like trading in the yelling match for a well-run meeting. Makes sense to me. But what about this Cosmos Hub you mentioned? Where does that fit in?
Ah, that's the other key piece. Cosmos Hub is like the central blockchain in this whole internet we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the connector, right? Lets all the other blockchains, Cosmos calls them zones, talk to each other.
Hold on, zones. So we're not just talking connecting Bitcoin, Ethereum. We're creating whole new blockchains too.
You're getting it. That's the beauty of this. Developers can build their own specialized blockchains, these zones, each with their own rules, own uses. It's about what they need, not forcing everyone into one box.
So instead of one blockchain trying to do everything, it's more like, I don't know, a network of cities. Each one's got its own thing going on.
Perfect analogy. And the Cosmos Hub, that's like, I don't know, the central train station.
Yep.
Makes it possible for those cities to share info, value, interact in ways they never could before.
Okay. I think I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. So we've got Tendermint, the super efficient engine, and the Cosmos Hub. That's the central station connecting everything. But how do these zones actually talk to each other? Is there like a special blockchain language or something?
Now, that is where it gets even cooler. Cosmos has its own protocol for this. They call it the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, IBC for short. Think of it like TCP/IP, but for blockchains.
TCP/IP, that's how computers on the internet talk to each other, right?
Exactly. Just like TCP/IP lets your computer connect to any website no matter where it is or what software it's running, IBC lets all these different blockchains understand each other no matter how they're built. It's seamless communication.
So IBC is like the magic ingredient that makes all this interoperability stuff actually work. It's the universal translator for blockchains.
You got it. And one of the most powerful things about it is that it lets these different zones move tokens between each other. Think about what that means. We're talking about a whole new way to move and manage value, all decentralized.
This is already mind-blowing stuff, and we're just getting started. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second, yeah? You said these zones are like their own little blockchains.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example? What could people actually use these zones for? Give me the elevator pitch. Give me an example then. How could these zones actually like shake things up in the real world?
Okay, imagine this. A zone, but it's specifically designed for decentralized exchanges. We're talking trading crypto directly with other people. Cut out those big centralized exchanges. No more middleman.
Wait, so you're saying I could trade like Bitcoin for Ethereum right here on the Cosmos network? No need to go through those,
Yeah.
those big exchanges.
And because it's all decentralized, no single point of failure. No one can censor you. It's like
No.
true financial freedom,
Okay, that'd be huge. But let's shift gears a bit, yeah. The white paper mentioned this thing about Namecoin and how Cosmos takes a different approach to like naming things on the blockchain. Can you break that down? What was wrong with Namecoin and how does Cosmos improve on it?
Right. So Namecoin, that was an early attempt to like decentralize domain names. The idea was instead of going through those regular registrars, you could register your website straight on the blockchain. More secure, more transparent, no censorship worries. Good idea on paper, right?
Sounds good so far, but there had to be a catch.
The problem was Namecoin was built on top of Bitcoin, which meant it got all of Bitcoin's baggage. Slow, expensive transactions.
Yeah.
A real pain to use, like trying to race a Ferrari on a dirt road.
Yeah, recipe for disaster. So how's Cosmos different?
Remember we talked about zones, right? Specialized blockchains. Picture a zone, but it's made for name registration. Fast, efficient transactions because it uses Tendermint. Easy to verify who owns what, no more headaches. It's like building that Ferrari a proper racetrack, finally.
Much smoother ride. So theoretically, you could have this whole decentralized internet built on Cosmos, right? Domain names, hosting, the whole shebang.
That's the vision. A better internet. More
Yeah.
open, interconnected, all about the users.
This is exciting stuff, but let's talk security for a sec because
Yeah.
all these blockchains connecting, tokens flying around. How can people be sure Cosmos is safe? What's stopping the hackers from having a field day?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's a good one. Cosmos takes a multi-layered approach. It's not just one thing. So each zone, responsible for its own security, they choose what works best for them.
So each zone has its own security guards, its own rules.
Exactly. But the Cosmos hub, that plays a role too. It's like backup. If things go really wrong, the hub can step in.
Okay, so the zones are like individual states, and the hub is like the big national guard ready to roll if things get out of hand. But how does the hub actually like make the whole network more secure? What does it do?
One way is this thing called IBC packet filtering. Sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Each zone gets to decide which other zones it'll talk to, what info it'll share, like its own little border control.
So each zone gets to decide who it lets in and what it lets out.
Exactly. Prevents bad zones from, spreading problems. It's all about containment.
Makes sense. But what about the Cosmos hub itself? What if someone tries to hijack the whole thing?
That's where the ATOM token comes in. Validators, those are the ones verifying transactions on the hub. They have to stake a bunch of ATOM, like collateral. The more they stake, the more say they get.
So it's like a security deposit. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
You got it. And here's the kicker. If they try to cheat, do something shady, they risk losing all that staked ATOM. Big incentive to play by the rules.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong incentive to stay honest.
Exactly. It makes attacking the network super risky. The more you stake, the more you can lose.
So it's like economic suicide to even try a hostile takeover, basically. But let's say, hypothetically, a validator wants to cash out, disappear. They can just do that whenever, right?
Not so fast. That's where the unbonding period comes in. If they want to withdraw their ATOM, they got to wait, usually around 21 days.
So they can't just yank their ATOM out and run.
Nope. Gives the network time to, make sure everything's above board. Keeps things stable, too.
Okay, that makes sense. So you've got those economic incentives to keep things honest, protect against bad actors on the inside. But what about external threats? Like hackers trying to break in?
Cosmos has a plan for that, too. It's called defense in depth. Basically, they don't rely on just one thing to keep things secure.
Defense in depth. That sounds
It's like a
intense.
castle, right? Multiple layers of walls, moats, guards.
Yeah.
You get the idea. Even if someone gets through one layer, they're not home free. They got to get through a whole bunch more.
So even if they get through one layer of security, they're still going to have a hard time actually causing any real damage?
Exactly. One example of this is how they use light client verification. Basically, imagine you're just a regular user. You don't want to download the entire blockchain just to check if something's legit, right?
What? That sounds like a pain.
So light clients can quickly check things without having to trust anyone completely. They do this by checking these digital signatures from a bunch of different validators.
So it's like getting a second opinion, but from like 10 different experts.
Exactly. Makes it way harder to mess with a blockchain because you'd have to trick a whole bunch of validators at once, and with all those security measures, not very likely.
Okay, it all sounds pretty ironclad, but let's be real, no system is perfect. What happens if there is a security problem? Does Cosmos have a backup plan?
You're right, security's an ongoing thing. Even the best systems can have weak points. So Cosmos has this built-in way to deal with what they call hard forks and reorgs.
Okay, gotta admit, you've lost me a little. Break those down for me.
Sure, so a hard fork, that's like a major change to how the blockchain works, like a
Mm.
software update. But it changes so much that it's not compatible with the old version anymore,
So you gotta upgrade or get left behind.
basically. Now, a reorg, short for reorganization, that's a bit different. That's when the blockchain kind of splits for a bit. Two versions, each with its own transactions, and only one can win out.
Okay, that sounds messy. Why would that even happen?
Could be a glitch, you know, network hiccup. Or, in more serious cases, yeah, it could be someone trying something shady. But here's the important part. Cosmos can actually handle both of these situations way better than most blockchains. More democratically, more transparently.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How does Cosmos do it differently? So how does this whole hard fork reorg thing, how does that actually work in practice? With the Cosmos network, I mean.
Okay, let's say there's this big security flaw, right?
Yeah.
Like someone finds a major vulnerability in the Cosmos hub itself. What happens then?
Yeah, that's the real test, isn't it?
So the developers, they propose a hard fork, a way to fix the problem, upgrade the code. But here's the thing, the ATOM holders, they get to vote on it.
Wait, so everyone who owns ADOM gets a say in this?
Exactly. If enough of them vote yes, boom, the whole network upgrades. The old version, the one with the problem, that gets left behind.
It's like blockchain democracy in action. I like it. But couldn't someone just, I don't know, buy a ton of ADOM, force their way?
Theoretically, yeah, that's a risk with any voting system, right?
Right.
But Cosmos has a few safeguards built in. Don't forget, ATOM isn't just for voting. It's tied into the security, too, remember. Validators, they have a big incentive to keep the network healthy. Because if they don't, well, they could lose their stake.
Right, right. Their ADOM's on the line.
Exactly. And on top of that, the Cosmos community, they're very involved, let's just say. Things are pretty transparent, so if someone tries to get sneaky with the voting,
Yeah.
everyone's going to know.
So there's those economic incentives, A&D, the community, keeping an eye on things. Good combination. But changing gears a bit here. You said earlier that Cosmos isn't just about connecting blockchains, it's about like building a whole new internet. What does that actually mean?
Right, so the internet we've got now, it's controlled by a few big companies, that's no secret. They track everything you do, sell your data. Too much power in too few hands.
Yeah, it's like we're all just stuck in their world, got to play by their rules.
That's one way to put it. Cosmos, it offers a different way, a decentralized internet, where users have the power, own their data, not some corporation.
This sounds pretty utopian, taking back control, all that, but how does Cosmos actually make that happen?
It's all about building the foundation. Imagine social media, messaging, even finance, but all running on Cosmos. Not controlled by one company, but by a whole network of users.
So no more worrying about some big tech company, selling your data or shutting down your favorite app. I could get used to that. But let's be real. This is a big vision, right?
Yeah.
What are the biggest hurdles for Cosmos? What's standing in their way?
Honestly, getting the word out. Blockchain, it's still new to a lot of people. Complicated, too. Hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah, even after this deep dive, I'm still wrapping my head around some of it. Gotta be honest.
You're not the only one. That's why explaining this stuff clearly, it's so important. The more people understand what Cosmos could do, the more they get behind it.
So it's not just about the tech. It's about building a community, people who believe in this vision.
Exactly. And that's happening already. The community's growing fast. People are excited about this, and they should be.
This has been amazing, honestly. Digging into Cosmos like this, learning about all the different pieces, the tech, the vision.
It's been a pleasure, really. Glad we could dive into this together.
Before we go, though, I want to leave everyone with something to think about. If Cosmos actually pulls this off, if they really build this new internet, what will that world look like? How will things be different? What will be possible then?
Those are the big questions, aren't they? And honestly, no one knows for sure, but it's going to be exciting to find out, that's for sure.
That it is. This deep dive, it's just the beginning, you know. We've only scratched the surface of what Cosmos is all about. So, to everyone listening, go check it out yourself, read the white paper, join the conversation. This is the future of the internet we're talking about, and you can be a part of it. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep on diving deep.